Hello YouTube and hello 9th HP. This is Charles with Evershed Gaming and I'm bringing you another 9th Age battle report. I got this game in a week ago against none other than the infamous TreeDaddy himself, Jason Shoop. Actually my first round opponent at Bucket Battles. He's had a little bit more time to mess around with the Sylvan Elf lists, and he's got this new list he's been trying out for seems like a little bit of time. And I wanted to take a whack at it because I thought it was quite interesting. So he's got a Sylvan Elf Prince, he's got a bow, he's a Pathfinder character, and he's got the Bow of Whiskin. Then he's got a Druid with Shamanism, it's a Master with the Magical Heirloom, Talisman of, not Shielding, Talisman of Channel, I can't think of its full name, and it's the General. And then he's got a Thicket Shepherd BSB with Tactical Spores. That gives his unit of Thicket Beast Lethal Strike. And then he's got 3 things of Sylvan Archers with Musicians. 1 thing of Heath Riders for some scoring. 6 Thicket Beasts with a Champ. 2 Eagles. 2 TreeDaddies. And 10 Pathfinders. So a nice, honestly good mix of shooting and some couple tough combat units. One, thick block. Those Thicket Beasts are really tough to shoot through. And then I'm actually bringing almost the same list as what I played in the last battle report. The only changes I made were to characters, basically. So I didn't like how I didn't have enough orders, so I dropped the Obsidian Rock, and then which allowed me to go great tactician, but I was over my character points, so I had to drop the black steel for the Willow's Ward and the Alchemist alloy, which is livable, and then I actually had to drop the shield off my Prelate too, which I didn't love because that 2-up against shooting is nice, but then again I'm like, he doesn't get to use the shield in combat, so and then I also chose Pyromancy, mostly because I feel like this army could use some extra missile damage. We played, I want to say this is map pack number 4, and that's the train we had. We actually rolled up King of the Hill, which is like the different terrains for the objective, but then we started playing it wrong. Like I chose a building like an idiot, and he chose something, and then we just re-rolled for the objective and got capture the flags. And then deployment was marching columns. So he started deploying on his right, my left in this picture, with his Heath Riders, TreeDaddy, Archers, and then his Thicket Beasts. And then on his other side of the board, he put his forest right there, is in the middle, and this is after scouts. He put his Pathfinders in there with his Prince. And then he's got his 2 other Archers, and he's got a TreeDaddy also on this side of the board behind the hill, turn 1, and 2 Eagles. And he also finished deployment first so that he could go first. Yeah. I want to say I picked table sides, and then he decided to go first and just pretty much dropped everything. And then the way I did my marching columns is I technically started on the other side of the board, but I'm going from left to right here. I've got 1 unit of heavy infantry with just shields. They are on my left flank, and then a cannon sort of behind that building, sort of trying to get a vantage point on the 2 different TreeDaddies, and then 20 light infantry. And then in the middle of my board, I was also worried about shamanism too. In the middle of my board, I have my heavy infantry sort of trying to protect my my light infantry and my cannon by putting them all the way in the back, and then my Prelate is in between them and the Imperial Guard, and then I've got my militia right out in the open with my wizard. In this case, I'm like I don't know why I put my wizard in that unit, and you'll see why in a second. And then my steam tank actually finishes my deployment because he didn't really have too much on his flank over there, so I think the steam tank can handle a TreeDaddy. So Sylvan Elf turn 1. He moves up with his archers so that he can basically just put a ton of damage onto that militia. He's obviously the pyromancy is a big threat to his army, and he's hoping to put some wounds on that guy turn 1, possibly kill him if the rolling goes well. So, and then he kind of moves his trees up. He moves some forests around, and I believe in the magic phase. And then the Heath Riders over here move up considerable distance. They're not that far from the cannon at this point. He gets a big flux card turn 1, flux card 8, so that gives him quite a bit of dice. And then moving in the magic phase, he puts Force Embrace onto the TreeDaddy on his right flank. It's the one my steam tank's basically kind of moving at. Obviously gives him soft cover, which is great. You know, it makes the cannonballs harder to hit him. And then he throws a swarm of insects at my wizard's unit, and I stop that spell. And then he gets Totemic Summon off, but thankfully he rolls 3 4s, and he forgets the spell. Which is actually funny, because that happened in our first game at Buckeye Battle 2. He forgot a spell with Amnesia. In this case, really great to see Totemic Summon go on turn 1. He did, however, cast on the big one, so he did get to put it right in front of my cannon. So, yeah, that will be a little bit tough. And then in the shooting phase, he uses the breath weapon, puts a wound on it, which is good. He could have done way more damage. And then he pumps all his shooting at my wizard's militia, and he kills them all. But thankfully, he shot the 2 core units first, and then he shot the Pathfinders. And the 2 things of archers didn't do enough damage to kill enough militia. So I still had 5 bodies when the Pathfinder shot. So the wizard stayed alive. So my turn 1, I move the steam tank up. I put my wizard in my Imperial Guard. Yeah, he obviously can't. He can't stay out. He can't be on his own for too longer. And then I just now that I don't have to really be too worried about Totemic Summon, I move my kind of just my whole combat lineup just to start, you know, moving it forward. And then I try and chaff with my heavy infantry, and just hoping to use shooting to get rid of the Totemic Summon. I get a fireball off, or I get a Pyroclastic Flow, I think, off here on his Pathfinders, and I don't do a ton of damage. I think I kill like 3. Kind of poor roll, but then I got a Blaze off to this turn on them, and that ended up doing more damage. When I got the Blaze off, I think the Blaze killed like 3. Oh man, Pyromancy is good against Sylvan Elves, obviously. Yeah, I got this Flaming Swords off on my steam tank, and then the Blaze killed 3 more Pathfinders. And I was like, so good. Because I don't even want, and those guys are probably like 40 points a model or something like that. I think he said that unit's like 400 points, like obviously really expensive because they're good shooters. And then, oh man, shooting phase, I had like 8 crossbowmen that could see that guy. They shot, I don't think they did any damage. So then I decided to use the volley gun from the cannon on that bad boy, and I did only 2 wounds. So now this guy's going to be able to go into combat, which he does on Sylvan Elf's turn 2. And then my chaffing attempt was really poor because he had plenty of space to get around my flank there. So now, even if I deal with the Totemic Summon, I'm going to have to deal with the... I'm going to have to deal with the Heath Riders coming around the building. So, really just a poor move on my part, honestly. I should have fanned out. I had a musician, should have just fanned out, blocked that side. He couldn't have gotten... His TreeDaddy was too far away to charge, so... Yeah, bad chaffing attempt there. And then he just moves back with everything. The Thick of Beasts, I think, have moved up a little bit to really occupy that forest right there. The leftmost forest, but all the shooting just, you know, I mean, they don't take penalties, so shooting just backs up where they can, and then TreeDaddy's kind of try and position around. That one TreeDaddy's only 12 inches from the steam tank, so possible to be charged. He gets Flux Card 4 on his turn 2, which is 5 and 5, not a bad amount of dice. He fails to break the spirit with 3 dice, which was great on my heavy infantry. And then he gets a swarm of insects off on my light infantry. I believe I just let that one go through. I wasn't really too worried about their shooting the next turn. And it kills 4 guys. It's whatever. I mean, if these guys are going to get picked on, I mean, at this point, they're not all that useful to me. And then in the shooting phase, the TreeDaddy kills 4 heavy infantry. Can't really do anything against those tree attacks. That TreeDaddy got to shoot a lot this game. Spoiler alert. And then these guys got shot up by his Sylvan archers, which is okay. Again, at this point, I'm hoping the cannon lives so they can charge them into the Totanic summon, but I'm not too worried otherwise. I lose some Imperial Guard, and then we go into Emperor Sonnstahl turn 2. So I do just that. I charge the light infantry into the cannon, or into the Totanic summon, because I believe he went into combat and he only did 1 wound. I think he failed to wound with his stomp, and then he just didn't really roll very poorly. I didn't do any damage, and yeah, we just got to sit there. It's almost like hoping for that miracle 6 in combat, so I could have killed the Titanic summon, shot at like the TreeDaddy or shot at the Heath Riders. That it just wasn't meant to be. Put my heavy infantry in the building because I didn't really know what to do with them. I didn't want them to just get charged by the TreeDaddy or panicked off the board. And then the combat line moves up. I don't think I moved up as aggressively this time. Obviously, I was a little hesitant to get in the forests with my heavy infantry. My Imperial Guard could get into the forest because they have bodyguard, but do got to be a little scary because the Thicket Beast unit is a tough unit, and I just can't run right up in its face. On my turn, I get Flux card 3, so I get 5 dice, and I start taking pics of like how I do my channels. Yeah, sometimes I'm just gonna do those picks, sometimes I'm not going to. I'm trying to remember to do those ones. I get a Quicksilver Lash off on this TreeDaddy. I do 2 wounds and he makes 2 saves. I'm just trying to take more picks of my magic cards in my turn, so I'm like, oh, this is what I actually tried to do. I get a Flaming Sword off on my Imperial Guard, or my Heavy Infantry, sorry, which was it's a really good deterrent against his Thicket Beast. And then I also get a Blaze off over here, and to kill a few more Pathfinders, which is just a cherry on top. 3 more Pathfinders. Gosh, Blaze was just killing at this game, which I believed. I mean, I was like, they were in range for me to throw different fireballs at them and stuff like that, but he was prioritizing to stopping the magic missiles wisely enough. I mean, they can do so much damage to his units, but those blazes can sneak through, and they're good. In combat, we do kill the Totanic summon, so happy to be rid of that. Happy you don't have to deal with that the rest of the game. However, it's not over yet, and I reform the light infantry so that they have somewhat of possibly a fighting chance against those Heath Riders, but no guarantees, obviously. Sylvan Elf turn 3, he charges his Heath Riders in the cannon, which is not long for the world at this point. Oh, cannon. He served so faithfully, but he had little to do with this game, apparently. And yeah, he wanted to move one of his TreeDaddies towards the center there, on the one that's like on the right, and he ended up moving it next to the steam tank, just so if I wanted to move the steam tank into there, I had to move like away from the middle combat, because this turn he did charge his Thicket Beast into my Imperial Guard, which I was sort of thinking like, come on, come in for it. You know, I've got Hatred, I've got all the, I'm stacked up. The only thing I didn't get up is I didn't put Brace for Impact on them. And this is a nice, better kind of zoomed in picture of it. Yeah, we got 2 TreeDaddies kind of sandwiching me against these Thicket Beasts. A lot of moving forests going on in this picture. And then the TreeDaddy on the left here, I don't even know what I can't really, I don't have anything to do against him because my cannon's about to get killed. Ugh. He gets Flux card 5 on a crucial turn, which gives you a lot of dice. Honestly, it gives you 9 dice. He gets the Forest spell up on his tree dudes because they weren't entirely within the forest. But now they get those rerolls, and I have to reroll my 6s, which is really good against my battle focus. So, and then I'm able to break the spirit though, so that was really good. Got rid of that -1 to hit, which with hatred isn't terrible, but obviously gonna just make it worse altogether. And then the Sylvan archers put a wound on the steam tank, so good job archers, getting through that 1-up arm save. TreeDaddy comes over here and he tree whacks. He kills like I think 4 guys over here, something like that. And then the prelate takes a wound from the pathfinders. They use the -3 armor save shots, obviously, which is pretty good. I don't think they were at short range, so they're still wounding on 6s though. Yeah, the Heath Riders have no problem killing the cannon. They don't really take any damage, so they go into my light infantry. Man, I really hope these guys can stick or something like that. Maybe whittle them down. I mean, I have a decent amount of attacks possibly. And then this is the start of the combat round. The people who got to go first were my 2 marshals actually, and my general just outright does 3 wounds and kills a thicket beast. I was like, sir, you are overperforming, but I love it. And I think my marshal, my BSB, does like a wound. And then he also put his eagle in the corner over here because he wanted to try and use it to kill my wizard. It does do a wound to my wizard, so it's sort of working. And then this is, I believe, all of his attacks. He only is able to kill 4 of mine. Like 4 or 5, I guess, because I think I had a couple guys sitting in the back rank, and then I go and I kill. I think I do like another like 4 or 5 wounds with all my guys, so not too bad. And that's how the combat ends. I believe I lost by a little bit, maybe 1 or 2, but obviously stubborn on leadership discipline 10. That's gonna make you stick around for a while. On my turn 3, I turned the heavy infantry to face the TreeDaddy because, again, I was debating flying forward, but then that sort of left my flank open, and obviously we have a big important combat in the middle, so I guess I'm just going to try and keep TreeDaddy distracted. Put the steam tank in the other TreeDaddy, really confident there. Those impact hits can go a long way. And then, yeah, we just got a big combat we got to grind through. I do put the prelate in the flank over here, which is great. In the magic phase, I have so many options to get reroll the wound off because I have Flaming Sword, I have the 2 bounce spell prelates, I have flaming attacks from the prelate, and reroll the wound. So I was like, I'm basically guaranteed to get it off some way, and I ended up getting the flaming attacks off, which is great because it actually, I think it does like a wound or 2 to his unit. I get the 5-up Aegis save off this turn, which is also great because that means now I'm like gonna lose less guys in combat. And then I also kill his eagle with Cascading Fire because it's a hex. Cascading Fire is, oh, it's so good now. I'd almost say it's more worth it than Scorching Salvo. I mean, obviously Scorching Salvo is still a good spell, but man, I don't know. The fact that it's like a hex is so good. After combat, he's only got, we go into challenge and I kill his champion with my prelate. And then, which is good because I needed to kill him this turn. And then he sticks with his BSB. I do 2 wounds to his TreeDaddy with my steam tank. With those strength 7 impact hits. And TreeDaddy's like, I don't want any of that. And he flees, which is really interesting for like a stubborn 8 monster. To just be like, ugh, no thank you. He goes over the fence, which is going to be annoying, obviously. And then over here, he does like 5 wounds. I do 1 wound. I'm steadfast, but I don't have my discipline 10. So I flee. He doesn't catch me, but it's about to be his turn. So I think that's going to go well for him. Which it does. On his turn 4, he charges. I flee again, and then he catches me. And then I believe he's also able to reform, but I didn't get a picture of that. TreeDaddy rallies, which is annoying. It would have been nice to see this guy just go off the board, but they don't call him TreeDaddy for nothing. And then in the magic phase, I missed his flux card, but he gets Force and Brace off on his characters again, which is really good. Because this way, basically, his BSB is stubborn regardless. And then he does get Break the Spirit off on my big block this turn, which is rough. So, but I just got to try and kill like the one model left. And then he also gets Swarm of Insects off on the heavy infantry. And it kills a few. I can't exactly remember. I feel like at one point he had a really high roll with Swarm of Insects. He got like 25 hits or something like that. I think it was against my Prelate at one point. And then in the shooting phase, I lose more heavy infantry, which, I mean, it's okay. There was like 48 in there, and I'm just kind of trying to fight deep with them at this point, so not to the end of the world. And then in the combat phase, the Imperial Guard are able to kill off that last thicket piece, which is great. And I believe this turn my Prelate challenges him, since he's got the Lock of Suna. He does like a wound or two, but doesn't kill him, and then the BSB sticks. And then Emperor Sonnstahl turn 4. Steam Tank crashes over the fence, doesn't take any DTs, thankfully, and goes into TreeDaddy once more. We move the heavy infantry out of the building, and I turn to face a heavy infantry again at the TreeDaddy. At this point, I was like debating if I should move a heavy infantry to try and go after those archers, but I felt like they would just get shot off the table or panicked or something, and they're obviously scoring, so I want to keep them alive. I get a lot of dice, and I'm able to get a high roll off on a Flaming Sword, and he just ends up outright stopping it. I don't think I bubbled it because my wizard's on the other corner. He just stops Flaming Sword, and then I'm able to get off all my bound spells, actually. So yeah, my Prelate's rocking all 3 bound spells right now. Impact hits just smoke TreeDaddy, which is great. So that Tree Father is dead. And then we're looking at Sylvan Elf turn 5. This is what the board is looking like. So he moves his archers on the hill back, because obviously that steam tank is free to try and kill them. Right now, it's 1 scoring unit to 1 scoring unit, because I've gotten a Sticky Beast, he's gotten my light infantry. And he's sort of just moving his... He thought about charging TreeDaddy in, but obviously I got a lot of buffs up, so he decided against that. He gets Flux card 7. And I believe this is when he throws... yes, the Swarm of Insects on my Prelate. And I want to say he got 25 hits. And I want to say he does a wound here with that spell. And then I had to stop Break the Spirit as well on my Prelate, because I wanted to try and charge him at something next turn. I didn't want to take worse impact hits going through the forest. And then, actually, this is the Swarm of Insects. And this is where he got 25 hits. And I think you can just barely see the wound dice that's on the top of the model. It's gone up to 3. So I believe he did cause a wound with Swarm of Insects, because he rolled like 5 5s or something like that for the hits, for the number of hits. And yeah, you're just going to cause a wound like with that many hits. And then in the shooting phase, he's able to move within 15 inches to get all that strength 4 shooting. And he ends up killing my Prelate this turn, which is a huge bummer. But, I mean, I cut that shield. That's all I could think was like, oh, I shouldn't have cut that shield. At the start of Empire Sonnstahl turn 5, I moved my Steam Tank up with, I think I moved the 5d3. And I'm actually within breath weapon range right there, which is pretty sweet. Move my Imperial Guard in the forest, trying to get them closer. And then I just kind of keep the heavy infantry in front of TreeDaddy. If TreeDaddy's going to sit and whack them, you know, they shouldn't ever run away. They've got Steady Men, and they've got Discipline 10 and a reroll. So they're pretty safe from running away. Get 8 dice from a Flux card 4. On my turn 5, and this is when we turn up the heat, as they say when you play with Pyromancy. Get a Cascading Fire off on the Heath Riders. I only do 1 wound, but I cause that panic test, that sweet, sweet panic test that sends these guys just fleeing right off the board. Awesome. And then the blaze from it kills, puts a wound on the prince, and I think kills one more Pathfinder, which is like spicy. I believe I tried a two single dice, or I know I single diced Fireball, and he stopped it with two dice, and then I was able to get a big pyroclastic flow off, because at this point I was still worried about the scoring units. So I really wanted to kill these guys, and I kill four, but they don't run away. And then the blaze from the pyroclastic flow puts another wound on the prince, puts a wound on the wizard. But I almost I regret in the end not throwing pyroclastic flow at this unit, because I probably could have killed them, possibly killed this prince. So because I ended up using my breath weapon here on the steam tank, and I kill like 3 or 4 Sylvan archers, and they just run off the board. So, and now I'm heartily winning the objective, and he can only really threaten this one scoring unit, which he charges on his turn 6. So, yeah, wish I could have thrown Pyroclastic Flow at the Pathfinders, but obviously that's looking back with hindsight. And this is what the board looks like. So he's able to move his 2 characters into the Sylvan Archers, and then he's it puts one of his Pathfinders in the field back there, and he moves the Eagle back. He's just backing up, trying to save points as best as possible. Especially at this point, his shooting can't really target anything for anything meaningful to happen. Yeah, in the magic phase, I stop break the spirit on my heavy infantry. He throws Swarm at my Imperial Guard. It kills like a couple guys. Obviously, I'm not worried about it. And then he also throws all his shooting at my Imperial Guard and kills a few guys. It's okay. I mean, obviously, it's not okay losing Imperial men, but it's not enough to cause a panic test, and we're still confidently moving forward. And then in the combat phase, he kills like 5 or 6, I think. Pretty mediocre rolls with the TreeDaddy, decent stomp, but it keeps these guys sticking around. I put 1 wound on him. All I need these guys to do is just not die on my turn 6. Which on my turn 6, the steam tank moves quite a bit far over. Like it had 2 big random movement moves, and I only used 4 dice, so I still have a cannon shot with it too. I was seeing if I could get the cannon in range to shoot something on the 4th side of the board, and I do actually have it in range. And then don't really do too much else, just make sure Pyromancy Mage is in range, and he is. And then I get Flux Card 1 on my last turn, which only gives me 5 dice. Big bummer. So I believe what I end up doing is, I want to say I throw 2 dice at a Fireball, and he stops it with 2 dice. It's like 2 dice to 2 dice, and he stops it. And then I throw 3 dice at a Pyroclastic Flow, and he stops that too with 2 dice. Just kind of low rolls, and I didn't get anything off on my last turn with Pyro, which is, I don't want to say shocking, but I think part of my expectation going into the last turn is I was thinking like, and you know, prioritizing trying to kill that scoring unit on turn 5. I was thinking like, I've got another round of Pyro magic. You know, like I killed like so many models like on my turn 5. Like of course I'm gonna kill like enough that I might even be able to threaten his prince again with Pyro magic, but it just wasn't meant to be. This was pretty silly. I tried shooting at that Pathfinder, and we thought I hit and wounded and killed him, and then we realized he had hard target, and that I had in fact missed. I thought I needed a 5-up, and I rolled a 5, but I needed a 6. Whatever. It's one dude. Obviously, it would have been like a lot of points, but I do 1 more wound in the combat phase to his TreeDaddy. TreeDaddy comes back and he kills like a few more guys. I think he had like only like a 2 Thunder Stomp, and he just didn't really roll all that well again, which is great because since he didn't roll well, I'm still steadfast, discipline 10, and these guys stick around, and this is where the game ends. last combat, and this is what's left on the board. So I've got my 2 heavy infantry units, my Imperial Guard, and my Steam Tank, and all my characters but my Prelate, who was shot. And then he's got like a unit of 4 Sylvan Archers, 1 unit of a full 11 Sylvan Archers, 1 Pathfinder, 1 Eagle, and a TreeDaddy with 2 wounds. And his Wizard and his Prince too. So, good game. Pretty bloody, but also a decent amount of survivors too. Like, some people are going to be able to tell their grandchildren about this battle. So it ends up being a 15-5 victory for the Empire Sonnstahl here. I want to say easily won the objective, but definitely killed way more of his units. I got 3 to his 1 by getting those Heath Riders, getting those Archers, and getting those Thicket Beasts. So definitely secured the objective. Wish again, I'm like, when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, why did I just try and kill his Prince, try and kill his Wizard, because those are like so many points. The Wizard's is general, the Prince is like 400, like 500 points or something like that. But again, that's all hindsight. It was a really fun game. I want to thank everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this battle report, and Elves Gaming will be back at you again soon with another 9th Age battle report.